spent my entire professional career telling young people not to go to college. Okay, let me clarify. I spent my entire professional career telling young people not to go to college right away. Why, you may wonder? Well, we are facing a crisis in higher education, and we need to get creative. What's the end goal of higher education anyway? It's to produce a population of enlightened and employable citizens who have the tools to thrive in our society. And the professionals operating within this system are all nobly striving towards that goal. But the system itself has become unsustainable. Families, educators, and society all believe, or maybe did believe, that simply getting into college was the key to a successful life and career. Unfortunately, the data simply doesn't pan out to support this argument. The idea that a bachelor's degree takes exactly 4 years is so entrenched that we have a name for each of those 4 years: freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. But only 36% of students graduate within this time frame. Only 60% of students graduate within 6 years, and 30% of students drop out after freshman year. Combined with these statistics is the fact that over the past generation, college has ballooned into a huge investment. 30 years ago, college was affordable. You may remember some people in the room. You could pay your way through university with a part-time, minimum wage job. Today, it can be crippling. The average student holds $37,000 in debt, and the collective $1.5 trillion in student loan debt is delaying young people from buying their first home, starting a family, and even saving for retirement. These delays have real financial consequences with ripple effects throughout our society and economy. So what do students need to thrive in this current system that we have going on? Well, they need to understand more about themselves, their curiosities, and their skills. They need to understand and be mature enough to appreciate the value and expense of their education. And sure, it would be great if they had a better and clearer idea of their career path, since that would help inform which post-secondary option was best suited to them. So here's the good news. There is a simple and effective intervention that parents, students, educators, and even colleges themselves can take advantage of right now to help students get a better return on their college investment. It's a little phrase with a million possibilities: a gap year. So, a quick definition for the uninitiated. A gap year is a deliberate period of time taken in order to deepen one's personal, practical, and professional development. A gap year, it can't be boiled down to a single activity, but elements like mentorship, experiential learning, and personal exploration are key components to meaningful gap time. And it can take place here in the States or across the world. But at least part of it should be spent away from home, so a student can truly fledge. Now, if you know somebody who's taken a gap year, you probably think whatever they did is what a gap year is. But there are no set parameters here, and it's appropriate for every type of learner. The goal here is to experiment, discover, and learn outside the boundaries of the traditional classroom environment. This can take the form of hiking the Appalachian Trail, or volunteering with a women's microfinance cooperative in Mexico, interning in Berlin, or working on a horse ranch in the Australian outback. But don't let those examples pigeonhole the definition either. In a world that prizes customization, taking a gap year is like receiving a brand new set of shiny Legos, allowing a student to build their own completely customized educational experience. So I would also like you to consider the fact that college has also become more competitive than ever before. Students are groomed from a young age to be attracted to colleges, racing from club to activity to sport, worrying about how their lives translate to that college application. We're seeing spikes in diagnoses of anxiety disorders and depression. sometimes related to the pressure students feel to perform inside and outside the classroom. Students who don't perform well inside the classroom often feel undervalued or left behind, even if they are immensely talented in other ways. Many of these students say they feel burnt out, and yet, even in the face of crushing debt and dismal graduation statistics, we are expecting these young people to take on an even more demanding level of education. In the process of cultivating a generation of students who look good on that college application, we have forgotten to raise adults. We seem to have lost sight of college as a means, not an end. I think we need to shift the focus to raising good citizens rather than good applicants, students who are naturally curious, independent, and eager to tackle the world's most pressing problems. Students who are empowered with their own sense of genuinely cultivated purpose are going to be happier and more successful in the long run. A gap year asks these students to take control over their educational journey, to choose rather than be chosen, and in the process of learning and growing without tests or an end goal in mind, return to their studies with renewed vigor. Last month, I was traveling in Cuba, and I was able to meet up with a group of gap year students on a service learning program. We had a great conversation, and they were emphatic about how excited they were for college after their gap time. One young woman told me, "I feel 1,000% more ready for college thanks to my gap year." And the data supports her sentiment. 90% of college students, once they take a gap year, return to college within a year. Once gap year students start college, they perform better academically, and they graduate sooner than traditional students. Gap year students are also found to be more confident, more civically engaged, have more clarity in their career path, and consider themselves much more employable too. Many people also don't realize that gap years can be financially accessible. Many students self-fund their gap time, or they'll find opportunities that fit their particular budget. Colleges are seeing such positive outcomes in their gap year students that increasingly they're creating grants, specifically for admitted students who defer their admission in favor of a gap year. These institutions, they recognize the fact that a gap year, it doesn't leave you behind. It launches you forward. For this reason, a gap year can be a great way to prepare for vocational school, the military, community college, or career. After all, we have to appreciate the fact that a four-year college degree with the potential for grad school is not for everyone. And even then, it is one piece in the colorful mosaic of a person's life. One of the reasons I deeply believe in the power of gap time is not just for its ability to build the skill set needed for a successful college experience, but to build those core values one uses to live their life. I was recently speaking with a gap year alum named Tiger Marr. Tiger spent 11 months with City Year Boston, an AmeriCorps program that embeds mentors into inner city schools with the goal of raising graduation rates. Tiger was placed in a school just 30 minutes from where he grew up, but he found it to be a world away from his home and educational environment. Tiger said that cultivating empathy around lived experiences so different than his own, yet so geographically close to his hometown, was completely transformative for him. So I have worked with students like Tiger for over 10 years. I have come across thousands of people who have taken gap time, and nearly every one of them has told me it was the best decision they could have made. And while I am still waiting for the other shoe to drop on this one, I have actually never even heard of someone who took intentional gap time and regretted the decision. This is notable because gap year students purposefully challenge themselves. Taking a gap year, it's not meant to be easy. Students are getting lost in foreign cities and learning to talk to strangers. They're learning to budget their money and make difficult choices. These are challenges associated with what we know as the real world. Overcoming discomfort and seeing yourself through to the other side develops resilience, a quality we know is important for lifetime well-being. So we know that the cradle-to-career system we have in place is not working for us. So what's the rush? I believe that if widely adopted, the gap year option could signal a great sea change in how American youth enter adulthood. Imagine a country where the cultural expectation shifted from the assumption of college right away and the stigma, if that's not your path, to the assumption of meaningful personal cultivation first. We would see national service soar, new skills training programs emerge, and wiser, more engaged college students. We would see youth-led innovation and invention. We would see our future leaders expanding their horizons into cultures other than their own. This is incredibly valuable, not just for that individual, but for society as a whole. Together, let's re-envision what it means to usher our youth into adulthood and allow the world to be one of the teachers. This will take a leap of faith, but in my estimation, that leap is in fact into a gap. Thank you.